Good morning, Facebook Live and Heartbeat FM listeners. If you're tuning in on 103.9 and 107.4, we'd just like to welcome you to Weight Loss 101. On the screen here, you can see two photos. The one of me is on the 4th of April this year, sitting in the Heartbeat FM studio, busy broadcasting. And the second one is on the 12th of August this week, where I was also broadcasting. And you can see that I am literally half the man I used to be. And when I posted this photo, I had scores of people asking me about what happened, how it happened, what they can do. So I thought of making some live videos just to share once and for all with everybody. And this morning we are just talking about finding your why. Well, I'm not a weight expert. The only expert I am is that for 40 years I've been cycling up and down with my weight. And I remember as a young man, I was surfing and unfortunately smoking weed and doing drugs and also smoking cigarettes. And I was surfing 3-4 hours a day in the water, just paddling out there. And things were obviously much easier than in terms of weight loss, because I was walking from Mead Street to Pick n Pay in George, which is like a few kilometers, hiking down to the beach, surfing and then coming back. And I was quite active. When I became a Christian, I started obviously attending church, and I met Ingela and her family, and they were quite a family that enjoyed eating and fellowshipping and stuff together. And within the first few years, and even just after our marriage in 1993, I started picking up weight. And I remember starting to run to George, from Pine Road to George every day, running kilometers and kilometers, and then losing weight, yes, but then I would injure myself again. Trying to push myself harder, and then I would gain weight back again. This happened sort of all throughout my 20s. And I remember once, the first sort of hurtful thing I heard was when I met somebody in town that actually said to me, "Man, you've become fat." And I mean, people can be very unsensitive when it comes to that. They just said, "Man, you fat, man. What happened to you?" And then another guy, actually once when my mother posted something on Facebook, he swore on Facebook and just about my weight. And then there was this one guy who came in. I was a salesman at Giri's, and this one guy came in and he says he's looking for the white man, the fat white man in the white Golf. And I thought, have I become the fat man in the Golf now? So, it started bothering me, but, I would say to myself, well, you're building muscle, you're becoming a man, so your body's just changed. And I wasn't that worried about it. But as I was earning a bit more money, I would, buy more sweets, buy more chocolates, and I would start gaining weight. And then at periods of my life, I would become, a bit depressed and down because of the weight. And then I would try and do stuff. And I remember joining the gym, and going to the gym like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, and I just found that didn't work for me. I couldn't sustain that. I remember starting running, and I was running like 20 kilometers, 30 kilometers, and sure enough, I lost a lot of weight. But yes, welcome Heartbeat FM listeners. It's Richard speaking here, and I'm speaking from my home just before my workout session, and I'm just telling my story a bit about Weight Loss 101. You can go online if you want to view a live stream this on my profile on Richard Murphy. You can also find it through the Hizard profile if you want to tune in that way. So yesterday I had a video, just the introduction, telling a bit about my story, and this morning I just wanted to tell a bit about the hurt that I suffered, and which probably became part of my why. And like I was just saying, that a lot of people would say things to me that were terrible. And also going clothing shopping. I remember once I went to Woolworths, and I went for the 36 or the 34 pants, I can't remember. I took it out. I went to the clothing room. I couldn't even fit the thing around my top legs. And then I went out, I took the 36, I think. Then I went out, I took the 38. Then I went out and I took, I think, a 40. And that didn't close. And I remember the lady at the counter, you would take the pants in and then put it, and she was actually laughing, not because she was rude or that, it was just funny, because I think the expression on my face said it all. She just said, she just thought to herself, geez, this guy is very disappointed in himself. And I think that is probably part of the why, why you would want to lose weight is the things people say to you, the looks they give you. Yes, that can be part of the why, but that wasn't my full why. Because even after suffering those things, I felt humiliated, I felt hurt, I felt those things, but it just wasn't enough. And you think, for me, the problem a lot of times is if you have an intense desire to say lose weight, but you don't have a strategy that you're linking up with it, it's not going to work, because your strategy will then destroy your why, because at the end of the day, you will just, at the end of it, you will actually feel worse, because you will lose a bit of weight, go through a period of 3, 4, 5 weeks of an intense diet, and then you will suffer again. You will relapse, and that's what happened throughout my life. I continued to relapse consistently, and every time that I relapsed, it was just difficult. And I think at the end of the day now, as I was sort of getting in my 40s, I got to a point where I actually thought, I'm never going to lose weight. I remember keeping my thin clothes in a separate cupboard, and thinking to myself for many years, I've got some beautiful clothing that I was going to wear. I mean, these are Jeep shirts that are expensive. You're probably about 200-300 rand a shirt now. So I didn't want to get rid of them. So I kept them in a separate closet. And I thought to myself that, I was going to wear them one day. But then at some stage here within my 40s, I actually lost hope, because I'd already injured my back trying to over-exercise. I'd already injured my hip trying to over-exercise. I developed other problems. I would start an exercise regime and just go crazy, or start a food regime and just eat carrots all the time, and I didn't find any balance, so I couldn't solve the problem. And you go to isolated professionals, you might go to a personal trainer, which is a good thing, but you might go to a dietitian, which is a good thing, and then you might go to a life coach or something, which is a good thing. But the problem is, if you don't have a combination of things. So the first why that I just want to briefly mention is, why do you want to obviously lose the weight? I mean, you must make a decision on that. Like I said, in my case, it was hurt, but it did become it came to a pinnacle, to a sort of climax, when I saw the doctor, and the doctor said to me, look, all your stats are bad. I thought, but I've never suffered from health issues. And then also ministering, like I said yesterday, ministering at the old age homes, I saw elderly folks, some of them having good quality of life, and some of them having poor quality of life. And I think for me, the thing was, I knew, I know I'm pushing 50, so I'm thinking, how am I going to look at 60, 70? Am I still going to be able to do my ministry? Am I still going to be able to do work? Am I still going to be able to spend time with my family? I've got my daughters married. We've got a beautiful grandchild, a grandson on the way. We heard yesterday. So I've got a lot of things that in the final stage of my life, or the last stage of my life, I'd like to do. But I think that gaining the weight and keeping the weight on is not going to help that. So in other words, I was looking at elderly folks, some of them that neglected maybe their health, neglected what they ate, and ended up really having extremely poor quality of life for the last segment of their lives. So that was sort of the why, I think, that pushed me. Yes, people hurt me. Yes, people said hurtful things. Yes, when you're overweight, people stare at you, they look at you. They people that have known you or knew you when you were young, maybe a surfer and vibrant and full of strength, they see you now and they say, what went wrong? And those kind of comments or those snide remarks, they do hurt, but I don't think that they are enough, because a lot of us end up giving ourselves softness again. We start saying to ourselves, we're not that overweight. We start saying to ourselves, what does it really matter? But I think I got to that point where I understood that to feel good about myself, to live a fulfilled life, to have a zestful life, to not suffer from a form of depression, I would have to actually take action, do something. So when I'm talking about finding your why in this segment, I'm not just talking about finding your why you want to change, but I'm also talking about trying to find your why. Why are you overweight? I mean, why are you suffering with overeating or whatever you are suffering with? So I think the one thing is, yes, look at the hurt, look at the pain, because Anthony Robbins says we move away from pain. So look at the pain. I I was listening to an Anthony Robbins thing, and I was trying to, and he said you must become extremely uncomfortable with yourself. You must face the realities. And he said, get naked in front of the mirror and take a picture and keep that picture on your phone. And every time you want to eat, then to look at that picture. And I remember I took a picture, and then but luckily just of my stomach, and it was a terrible picture for me to look at. And I would have this picture, and then one day I was going to preach or something, and I remember clicking on the iPad, and this picture came up on the screen, and I was trying to get it off because people thought, what has this guy got in his phone? A picture of his stomach, is that? But yes, it was actually just my way of trying to do things. But again, I think I didn't know the why, in the sense of why am I overeating, and that helped me not to have a strategy. Good morning, Jason. Good morning, everybody online, and good morning, everybody, Heartbeat FM. We're going to be with you guys for the next 4 minutes on Heartbeat. So I'm just going to run through this why quickly, because the first why I said was, why do you want to stop? And we will probably talk about that some more again. But the second why, I want to just give some information about myself this morning. Why am I an overeater? Why did I overeat? Why did I get to that position of overweight and not having that quality of life? And I discovered 12 things about myself, and maybe some of these things are relevant to your life. The reason I'm telling you this is because when we talk about, in the next video, we start talking about formulating an action plan, a strategy. We have to link up these things with the strategy so that we can diffuse things in our lives that actually cause us to fall into that spiral of overeating and that sort of thing. So yes, at the end of the day, let's start off with the why. And my whys, I'm just going to share them quickly. There's 12 of them. I'm going to go quick because we don't have a lot of time left. I'm an emotional eater. In other words, I eat when I get emotional. So if I have an extreme stress situation, or if something goes wrong at work or that sort of thing, I will start eating. So, when I'm sitting at RT Solutions at a computer shop, customer comes in, there's a problem, there's 5 call-outs, and I will walk down to my favorite spot, coffee time, and I will order myself something. I will walk in there, see some nice bakery stuff, and just eat it and not think. Okay, so that is the one thing. I would just go and I would just eat. Even if I had breakfast this morning, that sort of thing, I would just go eat it. And I wouldn't think about it again. And then I would moan about my weight. But that was one of my problems, emotional eating. I obviously stretched my stomach. So, I mean, obviously, the size of your stomach is like this. Now, all of a sudden, it's like that. So, you stretch your stomach, you're going to remain hungry. If you're taking in the right amount of calories per day, you will still be hungry. I suffered from food addiction big time. So, having a lot of sugar, and that actually, you can read books. I read a book, Sugar Addiction for Dummies. You can read books about that, but it's as addictive, they reckon, the experts reckon, as cocaine and heroin and that sort of thing. So you have to break that addiction. That will probably be part of your strategy. So first one, emotional eating. Second one, stretched my stomach. Third one, food addiction. The fourth one is probably the most difficult one. I had a strong social circle of eaters. So in other words, my friends, like when I was on drugs, my friends were drug addicts. And when I was a glutton or overeating, my social circle was overeating. And obviously, I'm not saying you should leave your friends in that, but I'm saying maybe you can influence your friends. Maybe you can make a change or be the change that you want to see in others. But yes, thanks Herman for loving it. I'm trying to push. I think Heartbeat is disconnecting already. Then I was uneducated as far as food is concerned, very, very uneducated. And I thought I knew about food, but I didn't really. My sister-in-law, Teresa, I call her the diet master. She's actually a type 1 diabetic, and I don't think she'll mind that I say that, which has forced her to really look at food in a very scientific way because of the amount of insulin they have to inject and the amount of food they eat. They have to look at the carbs, they have to look at the calories. So she actually assisted a lot with my education on food, which actually I think was one of my breakthroughs this time around. But I was very uneducated, and I never thought about what I put in my mouth. So I just put it in, man, whatever it is, I put it in, and I would never think that one hamburger could have like 50 carbs and another hamburger could have like 30 carbs or 20 carbs, and you can make a bit of a choice difference there. Yesterday she made a hamburger that actually had 2 carbs in, and it's actually still filling. So there are some little things you can do, and that is part of your action plan. Another thing is I just had bad habits that I cultivated over the years. So some bad habits, some stuff lying in my drawer in front of the bed. There were some habits I need to break. I don't sleep enough. I don't drink water enough. I skip meals. I sit too much, and I'm quite inactive as far as exercising is concerned. And I was just working without having any recreational time. So that's sort of my 12 nemesis or my 12 whys, why I think I picked up weight, why I think I had a lifestyle of overweight. It's because of these 12 things. Now there could be more, I just thought of the 12. And according to these 12 things, I looked at what I actually did, and that's the second video, or it will be probably the second video tomorrow or the day after, depending on when we make that one. That will be, okay, what is your strategy? What is your action plan? How are you going to change this? Because at the end of the day, it's pretty much up to you, and you have to make a decision. Nobody can force you. It has to come from inside of you. That's why I say you have to have the 2 whys connected. A lot of times I did feel the pain, but I didn't know why I felt the pain. I didn't know how I got to the position of pain, and I also didn't know how I would formulate a strategy or some way of trying to rectify. So this has been Richard with Weight Loss 101, and you've been watching the first video. Well, it's actually the second one, but we call it the first video, but it's the first video of the Weight Loss 101, the strategy, and this one is finding your why. And what I've said is just you have to find both whys. Don't just think of the why you want to change, but think of the why you are overweight, because that will be the next video where we actually have to take a strategy, a strategic approach to our lives to say, okay, how are we going to change? Because now we have to start taking action steps, start formulating goals, stuff like that. Now that's my business education on that side. Like I said, I'm not a food educated guy. I don't come from a personal fitness background or a dietary background. I'm in business and I'm in ministry. I've got a degree in theology, and I've done some studies in business. But at the end of the day, I am just talking from my perspective as somebody that has suffered with overweight for many, many years, and have cycled up and down for many, many years. And what I want to do is just offer this to people, no charge, no strings attached. I just want to give it to the community as a blessing, so that we can all live fuller lives, healthier lives, and be whole, like the Bible says, spirit, soul, and body. Well, God bless you, and I hope to see you soon. Please share this video if you can. Refer people to this video, especially people that you know that are suffering, that are going through difficulty in terms of weight and health. We are not talking derogatory down to people. I'm talking from a position of grace, where I'm actually very sensitive about it, that I don't fall off the bandwagon again, you know, because I know in my heart I will always be a glutton. So if you haven't watched this video from the start, go back, watch it again. You can go on my profile, Richard Murphy. I will probably try and share it to his heart too. And God bless you, and have a wonderful day. Now it's time for my workout.